Our next guest has been a vocal opponent to the theory of man-made climate change. Joining us now is Marc Morano. He is the publisher of Climatedepot.com. Thanks for joining us, Marc.
Thank you.
You've heard the government's national assessment on climate change, but you do not believe that climate change is being caused by humans. Explain that to us.
Well, it's not so much it's not being caused, it's what impact are humans having, and is it detectable? And there's a new science report out, actually over 1,000 peer-reviewed references, dozens of scientists, called Climate Change Reconsidered. And basically the gist of it is you can't detect natural variability, they can't distinguish between natural variability and the human impact. And that's the significant thing as scientists from around the world are now coming out. One is Leonard Bengstead, former UN IPCC scientist who just came out and joined the skeptic group in the UK. And he says we wouldn't even have noticed the global warming temperature-wise the last century were it not for modern instrumentation.
Okay, well, you're saying it's instrumentation that's better than that.
No, I'm just saying it's not even noticeable. You can't distinguish it. Nothing unusual is happening in our climate, and I'll be happy to go through it.
Let's look at some of the facts here.
Sure.
We've heard that average temperatures in the U.S. have risen 1.5 degrees since 1895, but 80% of that increase actually took place since 1980. We also know now through measurement that ocean levels are rising.
Right. Ocean levels have been rising, first of all, since the last 10,000 years, and there's been no acceleration. In fact, a new paper in the journal Nature says since, I think, 2003, there's been a deceleration in sea level rise. Nothing alarming is happening with sea level rise.
Well, we have National Geographic, which is reporting that ocean levels have risen by 4 to 8 inches.
Since when?
Over the past century.
4 to 8 inches? It's about the thickness of a nickel per year. There's no acceleration is the key. Sea levels are always going to rise when you're coming out of, first of all, a little ice age and then a full ice age over 10,000 years. So the idea that anything we're talking about, and the report, President Obama's report, claims that we're feeling global warming here and now, and the scientists you had on reference that. The bottom line is on every metric, and you can talk tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, drought. Not only are we, quote, not feeling it now, we're either on no trend or declining trends on 50 to 100-year time scales.
But we are feeling it. I mean, we've seen hurricanes, for instance, Hurricane Sandy. We've seen more tornadoes in the Midwest in America. We've seen ocean levels rise in Bangladesh, for instance.
First of all, you used the word facts earlier. I hope you're not using that now. Every bad weather event is now proof of global warming. There's no way to falsify the theory if that's the case. Sandy was not unusual.
Okay, we've seen
and it was actually going through the longest period without a Category 3 or larger hurricane hitting the United States. It's been since 2005. That's the longest period in at least a century. Big tornadoes, F3 and larger, since the 1950s and 70s have been on a decline. There might be more tornadoes counted because we have better monitoring, but actual damaging tornadoes, huge decline. The most damaging decade for hurricanes was the 1940s. Floods and droughts. Droughts are on a decline in western U.S., I believe, over 160 years or 100 years.
So are you saying, we've just had this report from the United States, we've had another report from the United Nations as well, all pointing to changes, serious changes here that are impacting people.
They're pointing to weather patterns.
Yeah, sure. That impact people throughout the world. Are you saying nothing should be done? We don't need to do anything?
I'm saying, yeah, absolutely. Yes, when you look at their solutions, their so-called solutions would have no detectable climate impact. Our president, Obama, is on record as calling our failed cap-and-trade bill would make our planet 4 or 5 degrees cooler for our grandchildren. His then EPA director went to the United States Senate and testified that not only would the cap-and-trade bill not impact global temperature, it wouldn't even impact global CO2 level. What they're proposing is pure symbolism. It's, in fact, medieval witchcraft in a way, because they're saying we can alter the weather through acts of Congress, the EPA, United Nations treaties.
Yeah, but if you were saying nothing should be done, are we just going to continue and pour out all these effluents into the air, pollute the air, continue to do that?
CO2 is not an effluent. No, we're doing Every coal plant built today is radically cleaner than ones built 30, 40 years ago. Natural gas fracking is replacing coal in many instances, and now coming up about, maybe already surpassed it in the baseload electricity. That's causing dramatic reductions. We're now in the United States is seeing our emission levels drop due to technology, not big government solutions brought upon by fear by people like John Holdren. Look, in 1846 in Australia, Aborigines blamed the bad climate on the introduction of the white man in Australia. In World War II, they blamed World War II for causing unusual weather patterns. In 1933, Syria banned the yo-yo because they thought it caused drought in Syria. In the 1970s, the exact same things we're talking about today were blamed on man-made global cooling.
If you say nothing should be done, doesn't this play into the hands of big energy, oil companies?
What hands? First of all, when faced with a non-problem, as Lord Monckton someone said, the best thing to do is have the courage to do nothing. When you're dealing on every metric, they are failing. When current reality fails to alarm, they make a bunch of scary and scarier predictions. That's what this report is. It's a political report. Please be careful with the word fact.
You may call it a
disturbing word you used earlier when you said fact.
Okay, it is fact, because 300 scientists were involved in the compilation of the White House report. There were hundreds more scientists involved in the UN report. What are your qualifications as a climate scientist?
My qualification, I have a background in political science, which is the perfect qualification to examine global warming, but I don't rely on myself. I actually have worked with teams of scientists. I authored a report of over 1,000 international scientists that have dissented from so-called man-made global warming
But this
fears.
is climate science. And I have to
that report you're referencing had included Nature Conservancy and the Union of Concerned Scientists. It included environmental activists. It was written to cause a political agenda, and American people aren't that stupid.
Okay, you keep saying political agenda. I mean, take your organization, Climatedepot.com.
Yes.
Who finances you?
We got over 80% is from individual donors. I wish there were big energy like you seem to think is fact. Yeah. There is no big energy out there promoting it. In fact, one donation by the natural gas, carbon-based energy, to the Sierra Club of $26 million exceeded my budget by about 5 times.
All right.
One donation. So if you want to look at the big energy, look at environmental groups getting money.
Do you get any money from the oil companies?
We might get some, but I used to work for Senator Inhofe. How much money does big energy give? His answer was not enough. When you look at how well financed the other side is and how much they've given. I wish big energy were like you say, the Koch brothers, which many people say, oh, the evil Koch brothers, 59th giving in American politics. That's where they come in. You have the Democrats of people like Tom Steyer, billionaire Democrats giving money. Are you looking into that? Are you worried about their bias on this at all?
I'm talking to you right now. I'm asking you where you come from, because you're saying this is political, this is not scientific.
That's exactly right. If you look at the scientists from around the world, most of them are emeritus professors who recently come out, and some of them aren't. Judith Curry was one who Georgia Institute of Technology. She's now testifying on the Republicans on behalf of global warming in House hearings. She used to be a firm believer, if you will. She said, I'm now a, quote, heretic on global warming. James Lovelock, one of the biggest green gurus, reversed himself. He said it's become a religion, that global warming is about politics. The big money is in the government solutions, government grants, government funding of alternative energy and mandates, and shutting down a war on coal, shutting down, trying to go now after fracking. You talk about, your last guest talked about minorities and African American, the disproportionate impacts. The biggest impact minorities, seniors, people on fixed income face are so-called solutions which drive up the cost of our energy and make them freeze in the winter, sweat in the summer. In the UK, people have died this past winter because of commitment to green energy based on the political global warming reports that they've had similar ones like that. So this report, President Obama's done us a favor in a way, because no one's going to take this seriously. In a way, Al Gore has made global warming partisan. President Obama's furthered that cause.
I'm not sure whether no one's going to take this seriously.
Well, the usual suspects will.
Obviously, there are various viewpoints in this. Marc Morano, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.